Hello, this is Lena from myfertilityhub.com, support for your IVF journey. And today I'd like to share the story of my big, fat, positive Christmas miracle. My big, fat, positive Christmas miracle. Well, it started in November. We were at the third clinic in our IVF career, if you will. I was a nervous wreck. I started to get really superstitious, and whenever anything happened, like on the way to the clinic, the bus would break down, I'd be like, oh my God, maybe that was a bad sign and it's not meant to be, and there's not even any point in trying. Or if any papers, at one stage we had like an administrative hiccup and we had to delay by 1 month because the clinic had lost a form or the lab had lost a form, something like that. Again, I was like, maybe it's just not meant to be, maybe it's a sign. Meanwhile, all that my husband saw was the hospital that this particular clinic was in was the same hospital that his grandma had passed away. So he sort of saw it as a good sign that she benevolently was sort of looking down upon us and guiding things to make it work. So as you can hear, neither of us are usually all that superstitious. We were both nervous wrecks. At that time, we had spent about a year at other clinics that hadn't worked out, and this clinic had a 3-month waiting list for the specialist to even see us. So that was a lot of time as well to sit around and freak out. But once we got to see the specialist, he was reasonably hopeful for us. They did a lot of additional tests that the other clinics hadn't even bothered with, which I personally saw as a good sign. And yeah, so I'll keep the stats for another time. Just know that I've had benign tumours on both of my ovaries as a teenager, so I have half an ovary left. And from the surgeries, I also, essentially my tubes are blocked. So I definitely needed IVF, and we needed ICSI as well. Long story short, on transfer day, there was one healthy, beautiful blastocyst to transfer. I thought the transfer would be like this big deal and big event, but it really wasn't. I met my husband on my lunch break, went to the clinic, we did the transfer. I could see, or we could see, the embryo in super magnification on the screen, and everyone was sort of running around trying to get everything done, and the embryologist was coming out with the cannula, and my specialist did the transfer. Physically, I hardly felt anything. That's going to sound really weird, and I hope it doesn't freak you out. But you know how you sometimes meet people and you just click and you know, I've just met someone significant? I had that feeling. I had that feeling of, I've just met someone significant. And I remember saying, hello, little embryo, welcome. And yeah, it was just this really weird moment. Anyway, so went back to work afterwards. My clinic didn't have any prescriptions in terms of, you know, don't move and don't breathe and don't live. They did say to not do anything strenuous, but I work an office job, so that was easy enough. And yeah, this sense of having met someone just followed me throughout the rest of that day. I remember going to the toilet and thinking to myself, wow, I feel like someone's watching me. I don't feel alone. Yeah, it was weird. I did have a little bit of contractions and a little bit of, I felt like something was happening, but I didn't know whether that was from the transfer itself or from the embryo or what it was. I thought I had read somewhere that if the uterus senses that an embryo enters it, it sort of releases some fluid and sort of contracts a little bit in a bit to make it easier for the embryo to implant, but I wasn't sure whether that was what I was feeling or not. So yeah, and then maybe 2 days later, I woke up in the middle of the night to pee, which, yeah, if you've been through stimulation, that's one of the side effects it was for me. And I was really startled when I saw blood. I was spotting, and I was really disheartened, and I started really beating myself up for getting my hopes up, and you know, this whole woo-woo thing of, you know, welcome home embryo, when our doctor had given us a chance of 40% at that stage. So at the moment a blastocyst was going in, I had asked a transfer, so what would you say the chances are of this blastocyst in particular ending in a live birth and a healthy pregnancy? And he said 40%, so about a little bit less than half. And so now I was like, oh, come on, Lena, you know, it's a numbers game. It'll probably work eventually, but, you know, it was unlikely anyway. Why did you get your hopes up? And that's when I sort of switched from the whole woo-woo mode to Lena the statistician mode. And I was just like, okay, don't beat yourself up. Chance of 40%, it'll probably still work eventually, but just maybe not this cycle. And I told my husband in the morning that, you know, I had had some spotting, just so he was aware as well, to sort of expectation manage. And for the rest of the 2-week wait, I completely tried to block it out as much as I could. Excuse me. And yeah, I think I literally bottled it up like you wouldn't believe until one day. Now I should say this was just before Christmas in Australia, and we had a heat wave. It was 40 degrees Celsius. I don't know how much that is in Fahrenheit, but it was pretty warm. And I was on the bus commuting to work one morning, and there was this dreadful smell of diesel fumes. Made me really nauseous. I was so happy when we arrived at the train station I could get off that bus. I was just like, that car in front of us must have really needed some engine maintenance. This is ridiculous. And then I went to work, and I was in a meeting in a really tiny meeting room, and someone had made soluble coffee, and the smell was just horrendous. And again, I was feeling really nauseous. And then suddenly this little voice, this really audacious, hopeful voice sort of crept up and said, maybe it's not the coffee. Maybe it's not the diesel fumes. Maybe it is me. Maybe I'm being sensitive to smells. And maybe this is a pregnancy symptom. And I don't remember the rest of that meeting at all. I could not focus at all. All I wanted was to get out of that building and get into a pharmacy to do a pregnancy test. Because I had ignored and bottled up my feelings for the entire almost 2 weeks, I didn't have a plan. So I was just like, crap, what do I do now? Where do I do it? Where's the pharmacy? Where should I do the test? I didn't want to do it at work because that would have just been weird. So I work in the center of the city, so there were a couple of food courts, and yeah, so I chose what I consider to be the nicest food court in Perth CBD. And yeah, did the test, and it turned positive straight away, and I was just like, oh my goodness. Because I hadn't really thought about it, I hadn't planned how I would tell my husband. So now I was like, how do I tell my husband? And I just couldn't find the right words. So I just texted him, don't read this if you're busy. And I just photographed the test with 2 lines and sent it through. And he texted back straight away, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. The rest of the day is a complete blur. And that was the 23rd of December, hence Christmas miracle. And the next day I was due for my official beta blood test. So I got my bloods done in the morning, and in the afternoon the nurse called me. And she was like, "Congratulations!" And I was like, "Thank you!" And she was like, "Oh, you don't sound all that surprised, do you?" I'm like, "Yeah, I peed on a stick." And she's like, "Don't worry, everyone does it." Because they tell you not to do it, of course, but everyone does it. So you're fine. Yeah, and that was the story of my Christmas miracle. Christmas miracle was 4 months this Christmas, and it was our first Christmas as a family that we celebrated together. And I really hope that it'll happen for you too, and that you'll have your miracle baby in your arms soon. Until then, love and baby dust, Lena.